is the Rangers Journal Night.
Hello everyone, how are we all doing tonight? It's a Scotland game this evening, but we're not here to talk about that. But we will be finished before it starts because I know there's a lot of people still like to watch the national team. I do personally. Ryan, what about yourself?
I'd rather see them win than lose, put it that way.
Yeah. And Ricky, me and you were talking before it. I think you're of a similar mindset, aren't you?
100%. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see them doing well. I actually think, just as I said before, Billy, I thought Steve Clarke, for all the kind of negative vibes he gets, I thought he was quite brave going over to Denmark and playing with two strikers. That tells me he went there to try and win that game. And in midfield, you know, is such a strong area of our pitch. We're allowed to sort of a break on them. Yes, we defended sometimes resolutely, but I thought we were well worthy of our sort of like draw that we went to obviously try and achieve. MD going there would have taken in, a draw all day long before the game even started. So to achieve it, that's obviously a major plus. But for me to go there and play with two strikers from the off, I thought, well, good on him, because it takes a lot of flack, certainly from the Rangers side, the Scotland support with his negativity.
Ryan, how do you deal with the international breaks? Because I really don't like them. I don't mind watching a Scotland game when it's on, but I don't really have much time for any of the other games, unless it's a real big one. How do you get through these times?
I just look at it as a break from football, mate. To be honest, it's too much of something can be bad for you. So especially when you're an Rangers fan.
Actually, I think you're right.
yeah. So I just look at it as a break from football. Stuff getting done around the house at the weekend when obviously you've got a football game usually wedged between it, usually nursing a hangover of some sort as well. So it's great to kind of get a wee rest away from football just for the weekend and, spend time with the girlfriend and all this kind of stuff. And that's there. I'm not going to lie, I do support the national team. I was in Germany last year. I went to Stuttgart, I think when they drew against Hungary, which was the most expensive football ticket I've ever paid for in my life, but the worst football game I've ever been to in my life. It was awful, to be honest. But when I was going about the fan zone and stuff like that, people obviously identified you were, you sound as if you were Glaswegian. Where are you from? And as soon as you say you're a Rangers fan, they sort of look at you strange, like, what are you doing here? Like, what are Rangers fans not allowed to support Scotland? So it's quite strange, is that I think the vast majority of the Tartan Army now look at Rangers fans as a minority within there. But there's plenty of other people I spoke to who were also Rangers fans that were there. Never managed to meet anyone who goes to the games as regularly as myself. Most people kind of follow Rangers from afar, but see Scotland as a kind of main following. Boys who likes a Shetland and stuff like that. So it was a strange one. It was a strange, but it's very much it's rest and recuperation for me.
I'll stay with you, Ryan, because there's a couple of things that's kind of came out in interviews over the last couple of days in relation to national teams. The first one was Nicholas Raskin last night. He scored his first goal for Belgium. I believe a knock-in at the back post. I've not seen it myself. I just read about it. But he was asked about his position with Rangers, and he did seem to commit to at least be staying with us for the time being.
Yeah, I don't think he's really got a choice, to be honest. The transfer window's closed and he's under contract, so...
There's still two markets open, I believe, Saudi and Turkey, but I don't think he was in any rush to go there.
I mean, if he goes to Saudi or Turkey, he's probably going to ruin any chances he's got to stay in the national team in the kind of long term. He's obviously got aspirations to play in next year's World Cup, so I think he needs to stay in a competitive European league. So we need to get all parties around the table and get this sorted out. You seen from his performance for Belgium, I obviously didn't see it myself personally, but if you read the reports and you believe them, you're led to believe he had a man of the match performance. It was either him or De Bruyne. There was a toss-up between who actually was the best player in the park last night.
Ricky, I'm assuming you've maybe seen the kind of comments he made after the game. We've talked about it enough over the summer, I guess, but we really either need to get him tied down to extending that contract that he's on, or I think really it's the next transfer window has to be when he goes.
Yeah, Brian and I have discussed this many a time on a Monday night over Nicholas Raskin. We both sort of agreed that if we were ever going to sell him, we needed him to sign his new contract, which I don't think he has. So we needed to sell him in that window. It's just gone. So that hasn't happened either. He's fell out with Russell Martin, so we're led to believe. He's still a fantastic quality player, and it's not the end of the world yet. If we can get him tied to another contract with an option in there that, if the phrase I'm looking for here with the if somebody triggers the £15 million that Rangers set in his contract, and the handshakes there, we let him go, and whatever that money is going to be, that needs to be part of his contract going forward. But we need to do something. We can't allow him to go into his final year this time next year, and get next to nothing for him. When potentially he's going to go to that World Cup and perform really, really well. So his stock worldwide is going to be up there if he's in that midfield. And he's now performed in several occasions admirably in that Belgium team. And there's some talented boys in that team, you know what I mean? So we've got a player there, but, you know, as I've said, Ryan and I've said this before, we really needed him tied down prior to the window closing. But I'm still glad he's still with us, because he's a fantastic talent, and he's one of our assets that we can make money on. But Rangers need to be coy with this, get the issues sorted out that's there. The boy wants to be here. He's got the right attitude. Get him tied down, but give him the handshake if somebody comes in with the money that Rangers are happy with, and he's happy to sign his contract. None of this messing about. Just let the boy go at the end of the season if we get what we're after.
Ryan, the subject of the pod is how to fix a failing Rangers team. I do believe all of us in the teams we've chosen this evening have Nicholas Raskin in them. Maybe he's given the manager some choice words that the manager didn't appreciate. Maybe he's thrown his toys at the pram. We don't really know for sure. But one thing for certain is we need to sort this short term, whether it's just a right, sorry to each other and shake hands and just get through the next couple of months. But we do need him in the team, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, I would struggle to pick a better player than him in the squad. He's the shining light. He's a talisman for us now. He is basically the most valuable player in the team. He's the guy that's going to attract the highest transfer figure at this moment in time. So we need to back him. And if it's a case that we need to sit him down and get a contract signed, it needs to work for both parties. If it's a case that we need to get a release clause put in there, if he's entitled to a part of the transfer fee as well, so be it. You got to get his agent down and sit down and say, right, what do we need to do to make this work? He needs to realise himself that he needs to mould into the shape that Russell Martin wants him to, because if he doesn't, he's going to find himself out the team and out the squad. And that's no good to either party. That's no good for him as far as his World Cup aspirations, as far as the clubs that he wants to play for moving forward and the leagues he wants to play moving forward. He needs to knuckle down and be a good professional now. And he needs to do as his boss tells him to. And, as much as the vast majority of us don't want Russell Martin to be his boss, at this moment in time he is. He's the guy that makes the decisions, so got to follow what he says, unfortunately. But this is where he can show that he's a good professional as well and good character. And that can sometimes go a long way as well, as far as attracting teams to come and get you, because no team's going to come and sign you if you're a bad egg in the dressing room. They will ask things about your background and stuff like that. Not being a good player on the park isn't the be all and end all when it comes to somebody paying multi-million pounds for you.
No, you're quite right, mate. You're quite right, and obviously that is something that we've heard in scouting reports, that they ask about temperament, they ask about his reputation with other players and getting on with the members of staff at the club, not just him personally, but all players and signing targets. So you're right, you wouldn't want, as much as his football ability, as I say, I agree with you, I think he's one of our best players. He does seem to be getting this reputation. There's been comments, I think, by Neil McCann last week saying he was maybe a bit difficult, but I kind of took that to be that he just wants to win, and that's the kind of attitude that I want from our Rangers players. Look, I read a comment online this morning that said something like the team across the city have regressed, and we possibly, on paper at least, have a better squad than them at the moment. They certainly haven't strengthened much in the transfer window, but we've not got the right manager. So it gave me the idea of, well, let's just see what we would pick if we were in charge. So, Ricky, there was a comment from Airwolf there saying to go 3-5-2. That's the formation you chose, and thank you to Doug to getting this together for us. So me and Ryan are maybe going to critique you over your team selection and give you the treatment that Russell Martin's been getting. But you get a chance to do that to us in a few minutes as well. So, excuse me, I'll bring your team up. We'll start with the back line. Obviously, we've all chosen Butland in goal, so I don't think you're going to have any criticism from me and from Ryan on that. Talk us through your back three in this 3-5-2.
Well, my 3-5-2 is based on the fact that the two boys up top need to start. you're not going to have Miofsky, who has had a fantastic record in our league, and we're struggling for goals, sitting on a bench because he wants to just play one target man, one striker, whatever you want to call it. So for me, the system allows those two lads to play together, build a bit of bonding, bit of unity, a bit of togetherness, understanding, and between them. I'm not saying we're going to get back to the Hateley sort of McCoy's kind of mould, but they two definitely had a bit of telepathy going on, and this is the kind of thing I'd like to see with those two boys. So for me, don't leave them in the bench when you're trying to win a league. So hence why I prefer this to the 4-4-2. So going by the 3-5-2, these boys here are going to take in the first three. Giga is a central man in the three. Obviously, Cornelius has just come in with a good pedigree, and at least I think we can all say that. He performs admirably when he's playing with Canada. He's an experienced pro. Marseille. So we haven't seen him, but I'm hoping he's going to be comfortable. We all say this a bit proper. So I understand we haven't seen him yet, but I think he's a little bit better, a level above what we're going to see from what we did with Proper. So he's a natural left-sided centre back, complete left back as well. So he'll have the intelligence to sort of close the gap should Gassama be cut up top if their sort of attacking third breaks down. And John Suter, likewise, will be in the right side of the three. And that allows us for me, to give us a solid base. So if we are in transit on our attacking third, and it does break down, a ball over the top, we shouldn't really get caught out because we've got three central defenders there, hopefully sweeping up. And in the middle of sitting on top of them, initially, is just the one pivot man for me would be Raskin. With a Diomande and
hold on now, Ricky. We've not had a chance to critique your back line yet. So
sorry, you're going to do that.
We'll do a section at a time. Ryan, I guess the only thing there, and I'm not saying that I'm right, I'm just putting this out there, would be obviously Cornelius is left-sided mid defender. Giga is the right-sided one. Would you have Suter in the middle of those three?
No, it looks fine for me. I think Giga obviously being probably the most natural kind of header of the ball. It's good that he's got two kind of ball playing centre halves around him there. But we've obviously to see Cornelius but in the flesh ourselves. But from what we've been told, he is comfortable on the ball and he's quite happy to bring the ball down and play out from the back. I don't necessarily have a problem with a 3-5-2. I've suggested it various times, especially when we seem to kind of have a bad reign of form and losing a lot of goals. I'm always quite happy to see us chuck another centre half in there just to try and kind of shore things up and go back to basics to kind of plug the leak of losing too many goals. I think especially last season, Jack Butland could have really done with a third centre half playing in front of him just to help with his confidence more than anything else. My only kind of criticism with the back three that's sitting here in front of us just now is that there's a strong possibility that none could be here next season. Cornelius is only a loan. There is an option to buy, but it is only an option. It's not an obligation. Giga is only a 12-month loan with no option to buy, and Suter's out of contract at the end of the season. So you could end up creating a really solid back three here, in which time next season they're not going to be here. That would be my only kind of criticism of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really anything we can do about it. That is the contract situation. So I'll move forward the line for you, Ricky. You already said Raskin is the kind of pivot. So you've kind of got a diamond back four. I don't know if that's ever been pointed out before. But anyway,
there's lots of permutations there, Billy, to be honest with you. It really all depends how you're in the field of play, whether you're in transit, whether you're defending. Your intelligence should be able to allow you to go into that kind of straight back five, or as we're attacking going forward. I've got basically Gassama is the wing back, not the full back, the wing back. Now you've also got Magona, who could come in there, and that's the one thing that we have got, and you have already, Billy. We have got personnel now that can chop and change. So these boys could be knackered after 60 minutes. But we've got enough personnel now to come in and naturally fall in and replace these guys who are tired. So there's no excuses for not running your backside off for the cause for the 90 minutes. But for me, just before I go into that midfield, we do need to get a system and get the system playing so everybody's comfortable with the system. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a plan B. There's oodles of plan B. There's a plan C and a plan D within that formation. It's just all about intelligence with how you're going to execute it. but we do need to get people playing in position in a system that they're comfortable with. And I think a 3-5-2 just gives you a solid back base to do it. Going on to the midfield, Raskin would be the man that would pivot that, holding that. But again, you could have Diomande coming in and doubling up there, depending on the opposition. But what it does allow is a kind of little diamond there, a triangle there in the middle of the park, where Raskin is your holder, Diomande in the left in front of him, with Ant-Man on the right-hand side. Now, the reason why Ant-Man and Tav sort of, and they can intertwine, Ant-Man would give you the pace that you need to get down that right-hand side to attack and give the service to the two front men. Likewise, I put Gassama in there, just purely for that pace, just to get opportunities to get these boys, because we're just not scoring enough goals. We're just not doing it. The striker is not getting the service that he needs to sort of prove that he's a worthy striker for Rangers. That's the reason why I think if you go with that option there. Now, just I said to you offline, Billy, if you look at, and I'm not saying we've got the quality of Spain or the quality of France, but they're banging goals left, right, and centre because they're playing with two quality wingers. Two quality wingers that get pace. Two quality wingers that don't come inside. They overtake, they get down the byline, and they're providing options to the strikers. Is it old-fashioned? It's the way we need to get options to these strikers so they can start scoring goals for us. And if they do get caught up top, because of the base of the three at the back, we're asking holding, we should have enough to cover so that the boys can then get back in track, get back in position, and we reset, we win the ball back and we go again.
Ryan, I'll ask your opinion on it. You do have the option of, I guess you've got Finlay Curtis, you've got Lyle Cameron that could come in there, you've got Connor Barron. So just, how do you like the look of that midfield five there, Ryan?
It's a wee bit spooky, I'm not going to lie. I've got concerns over Tav's legs playing a wing-back position at 30-odd-year-old. I think you probably, every year he seems to lose that kind of half-yard of pace. And asking a guy in his 30s to play the wing-back role, he's certainly no Cafu by any stretch of the imagination. So that would be my concern if he's got that. Having Ant-Man and him get out there to support, you then leaving yourself short in the middle. Again, it's a bit kind of strange, class of Ant-Man as a centre midfielder, where he's very much so a winger, and he likes to hug the touchline. So I think if you're asking him to have any kind of centre midfield responsibilities when he's going to look to get out wide, it could leave his wide open. It's something there. You're maybe trying to shoehorn him in there, Ricky. That's you maybe look towards maybe somebody like Barron. You've got Asgard, you've got Rothwell. Obviously, maybe not as great, but there's maybe better options. I'd be concerned about Gassama's tracking back potential as well. One of the kind of easier ways to get around a 3-5-2 is a lot of kind of switch balls, get the ball switched out to the other side, and I think that could potentially be a target. We've obviously seen how much Radvan was targeted when he played left back for us, and the kind of left hand side, a lot of teams were targeting any kind of out balls as such. We're just getting pinged on to his side every single by kick, every single goalkeeper's kick. There was always a giant standing next to him that was looking for the flick on. So there's ways we can get had at there, and I think that's your defence could maybe handle it, and your defence could win the ball back. It could be classed as more attacking than defending, and it's maybe trying to say, right, well, let them worry about us. Let's not worry about them. But it's, like I said, spooky.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It maybe doesn't leave enough defensive cover for me, Ricky. But I'm certainly, I'm in the camp that we'll score one more than you is a better kind of tactic, I guess you could say. So I don't necessarily disagree with it. So you've left us with two up front. I guess the only real feasible option if you're going to play two up front is these two players. Tell us your thinking on the strikers.
Well, just go back on the midfield there. I take what Ryan said, but I've actually got Ant-Man in brackets, Asgard, because that would allow you. The only reason why Ant-Man gets man-o is because of the pace. Just him and Tav sort of working together down that wing. Because I think when you look at Tav, when he's not been playing, we've not really played well at all under Russell Martin thus far, apart from the one of the European games. But what we do know is when Tav comes back in that park, with a far, far better team. And I'm one of his biggest critics. But we just can't leave him out of that team. We can't, not at the moment. So we need to get Tav in that team. And he can't, he's not a defender. And this is where I'm not an advocate of the 4-4-2, because if you're going to play Tav, you need to put him at right back. And I don't think, I'm happy for Tav to lose the ball ahead of a 3-5-2. There's enough cover to get him back in. And this is where I just need to, I feel with the 5 in the middle of the park, with intelligence, you can utilise that middle of the park and just play to our strengths. That's my only thinking behind it. We need to have Tav in that team until somebody comes in and proves it a better play for him. And it's certainly in Aaron's. He's been a disaster for me, as is Rothwell, and he's not even, that even counting my equation. I'd much rather have Barron in the Raskin role than Rothwell. But again, the good thing is we've got lots and lots of options on that bench now. Ryan's just mentioned the work rate of Gassama, and I get that. I'm thinking wing backs here, guys, not full backs. But you do have the option of Magoma. But is he going to have that option of the pace to get down the width to provide? And this is where it's just getting that balance. Try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But get the personnel into it, and I've mentioned it before, a formation that I think we need to stick to and let the personnel work on it. Because we've probably got two positions, or 2 lads for every position, less the left back, of course. But going on to the strikers, I think most people would probably agree with me that to play with a lone striker, whether with Dessers, he's now gone. He wasn't getting the options. Maybe he wasn't intelligent enough to get into position to receive the ball, blah, blah, blah. But he could go on with Danilo. We just have not been producing enough for that single striker. Now, you're not going to buy an £8 million man and leave him on the bench. You're not going to buy in a proven Scottish Premiership striker in Miovski and leave him in the bench because you've got an £8 million man that can't sit in the bench. So for me, you've got to utilise both those players. Now, whether they're both going to be used as strikers in a 4-4-2 system, whatever it may be, who knows? But we can maybe utilise one as a sole striker and one as a number 10 role. And I would look at Chimeti to be that, but I've never seen Chimeti yet. So I don't really know whether he's, he may well be the better striker. He may be, Miovski is the one who does all around about, because we all know the energy Miovski brings. It's second to none. You get the ball to him and the boys generally going to put the ball in the back of the net for you. I would like to think, if it certainly gets that form back that he had last year when he was at Aberdeen, 18 months ago. So it's exciting, that we've got it, but we cannot leave those guys on the bench. And, whether you agree or not, we've got to get both those guys in the team to start creating and scoring goals. And if the two of them can click and get an understanding, then who knows where this is going to take us.
Ryan, I don't see the two being the kind of Hateley and McCoist as mentioned earlier. If it was a front two like that, how do you see them linking up?
Well, I couldn't tell you. I've not seen Chimeti at all. It's very much, but it's a lucky bag player. You're just going to need to wait and see how it goes. It could be something that's absolutely phenomenal, and it justifies the fee, and he plays absolutely great and lights the header on fire. In the same token, it could turn out to an Umar Sadiq and just do absolutely nothing for us. So I don't know the boy. I've not seen him at all. I was surprised when I seen that we risked such a large amount of money going out for him, when you're seeing like Sir Turgeman go out to MLS. There's other guys. Seema could have come back in. There was possibility of money going towards that kind of transfer. We could have maybe got 2 strikers for the money they played. So they've pushed all their chips into the middle of the table. It's very much a kind of sliding doors transfer as far as the Martin regime is concerned, maybe even Thelwell's regime is concerned. We'll just need to wait and see what comes of it. But as far as actually in general playing 2 guys up front, we're seeing that one guy's it's just not cutting the mustard. We've seen how isolated that Miovski was. I think he only touched the ball maybe 5 or 6 times throughout the whole last Old Firm game. We need to get support. We need to get bodies into the box, and we need to start creating more chances and scoring more goals, because at this moment in time, it's as dull as dishwater. And there is ample opportunity for us here now to go on, and we can see what's going on across the road. There's a bin fire over there, and we're just sitting there, and there's not really much we can do about it at this moment in time. We've got to take this opportunity to get the pressure on and, waft the flames, if you like. So we've got to do this, and scoring goals and winning football games is the best way we can do it. So, and if it means that 2 strikers need to go up front to do it, I'm all for it.
Is it more of a later on in a game type of formation, Ryan, do you think?
It could be high. I mean, it's maybe something that, you are looking at one of them to come on and do that. You're seeing that Wee Curtis, is coming off the bench how many times for us now and scoring pivotal goals for us. So do you look at him possibly rather than, these two guys becoming the top two strikers? Do you look at a young guy that's got pace to burn? He's got an eye for goal as well. So we don't know. I mean, I'm all for basically if you're not winning the game. I hate it when things aren't working well for us and we see this, like for like change where he's going to take one guy off and put one guy. Mate, it's not working. It doesn't matter who you put on there. You can stick Ronaldo on it. It's not working. You need to change this up. It's not the personnel. It's the tactics. It's not working. You need to do something to change that. It's not there. So bringing on extra guys. You used to see, I think, who was it used to do? Was it Gio that used to do it? Used to bring on extra strikers. He used to have Roof and he used to bring on Morelos and stuff like. He used to chuck extra guys. So I think Gerrard was quite good for it as well. Bringing on extra strikers when things weren't going your well, rather than taking your goal scorers off the park, leave your goal scorers on the park.
Right, Ricky, this is your chance to critique Ryan's team, and then obviously after that is mine. I'd suggested a 4-3-3, but Ryan came back to me in the chat last night and said, can I do a 4-3-1, the 4-2-1-3, sorry, Ryan. Ryan, talk me through your back line first, and I'll let Ricky come in and have a wee go at it.
Aye, so very much so what Ricky was saying, keep Tavernier in the team, tried and trusted at right back, Suter, Jigger and Bacoma. I'm conscious this team lost, I think that's the same back line with the exclusion of Aarons that lost 6 goals. There obviously Tav came on, so I'm conscious of that on there. I couldn't bring Cornelius in. I don't know enough about him at this moment in time to justify starting him, but it is what you said. I think that kind of picks itself, to be honest with you, based on personnel. But you do have guys like Cornelius to possibly come in. There's dudes on Sterling, putting stuff about come back onto the grass as well. Will he come in and challenge Tavernier for the right back spot? Need to wait and see on that.
Ricky, I haven't been particularly happy with John Suter being the left side centre half. I don't think he's looked comfortable. I think he's always double checking himself. And also, he's not got particularly good recovery pace. Obviously, Giga does have a bit better at that. What's your opinions on Ryan's backline?
Well, the one thing that we've not had thus far is balance in our team. We've been screaming for a left centre back and we're screaming for a left back. This young lad, McGom, has come in. He's an actual left back, and so far he's produced good performance. I think so. I think we're quite all right. But the problem with the left back position is we don't have any cover in an actual left back position. So that boy gets an injury, then we're then the balance won't be right again, because you'll be Aarons, for example, playing over there, and we've seen it. The balance is just awful. Under this new signing of Cornelius, the Canadian international, he's a natural left-sided centre half. So without a shadow of a doubt, he starts for me. He provides the balance in the left-hand side, which we're desperate for. So either Suter or Giga needs to come out of that team if you're going to play a back four for me, and he would be the number one left-sided centre back, just to give that balance that's desperately required. Whether that's going to be Suter or Giga who would be playing the right-hand side, then who knows? Probably Suter. I don't know. He is a bomb scare at times, but as we've seen from Big Giga as well, he's had a few sort of hear him scaring moments as well. So I think another thing with Cornelius, with the experience that he's got, the level of international play that he's played under down in France with Marseille, I think he could be key to your defence this year. So I'd have him starting away straight away. And then we go to Tav, and he's just not a right back, Ryan. We can't continue playing a 4-4-2 or whatever it may be, but a central defensive four with Tav as your right back. We just can't do it. He gets caught out left, right, and centre. He's got no pace. He's got so much intelligence, and we need to utilise him in our team. But that's not what I play him with. I think he's proven over the year that we need to move him forward and utilise him better, because we are open and susceptible to any pace against us down our right hand side, because Tav just gets caught out. His positional plays, he's just not a good defender. He never really has been a great defender. He's a good offensive player, but he's not a decent defender when it comes to the right back. We need to utilise him forward.
Ryan, I'm going to hopefully bring up hopefully Doug is watching, because Doug, that is Glenn Kamara in the midfield, not Mo Diamandi. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's noticed that. But talk us through, you've got two holding midfielders, Ryan, and an attacking midfielder. So talk us through what your team should be.
Listen, just see quickly to touch on that defence. I'm not over the moon with that defence either. You know, I would love to see a world where James Tavernier isn't our right back anymore. I'd love to see a world where we had a more experienced left back, and I'm hoping that Cornelius is going to come in and take John Souttar out of the team and give that balance that you're speaking about. So I'm not particularly over the moon with that either, but it's kind of like the best that you've got. You know, you can only walk with the legs you're given at this moment in time, and it's the best of what I can see. Anyway, midfield. Raskin's the man. He's in there. He's marshalling the whole. He almost pretty much has a free role within that midfield to do whatever he wants. I'm looking at Diamandi to try and get up on the left-hand side and support Gassama and McColeman and start creating opportunities for them. I want to see Diamandi get into the box a little bit more as well. And I'm just looking for Raskin to go and just cover space and just make opportunities happen. Just, you know, snuff things out as they happen and get the ball wide and get the ball moving. If Tavernier finds himself up the park as well, I'm looking for Raskin to go across and cover him as well. So that's his role within it. Diamandi, I think we need to get a little bit more out of. We've seen it finally in the Old Firm game. Thought that was his best game of the season so far. Maybe coincident that Raskin wasn't next to him. I don't know if that's a factor in it, but I'm looking to try and get a little bit more out of him there. There's options, obviously, for Barron to come in there as well. I thought Barron was excellent against Celtic. Do you want me to talk about Asgard as well just now?
Yeah.
Asgard was one that very much split the camp in the last Old Firm. It's probably his first proper game since he came to the club. And if you ask 50 Rangers fans how well he played, 25 would say he was rubbish and 25 would say he was great. He had a very kind of unusual game against Celtic. He kept McGregor quiet but didn't really offer anything else. I've got hope there that Lyle Cameron's going to come in. He's going to take that jersey from him. But at this moment in time, Asgard's the big ticket. You know, he's the guy that we spent millions and millions of pounds on. He's the guy that's the Norwegian international. Cameron's not even get selected for Scotland this moment in time. So for me, that's why he starts, and it's his jersey to lose at this moment in time. But I've got full hope that Cameron's going to push him all the way and he's going to take the jersey off him at some point.
Okay, Ricky, you want to critique the... so it's a holding to... I guess my thoughts on that is I've always kind of complained, especially under Gerrard, that we didn't need two holding midfielders, but Ryan's went for two holding midfielders. What's your thoughts?
No, well, you can't argue with it because there's permutations in there as well. That can be a two pivots, or it could be the one with the two going forward, just based on the way the game's going, the way the game's played. You know, it's all about telepathy, intelligence, and looking after the game. So at that particular point, he's got two pivots. But the good thing about we having our midfield at the moment is the options is there. You know, I thought Barron was great against Celtic. So Diamandi, you know, as we've already said, has played exceptionally well the other day there as well. And we've seen him playing particularly well when he's in Europe, but domestically maybe just underperforms, or maybe we're just expecting a lot more than what's perceived that we should be getting from him. But there's definitely a player in there. But Asgard, you know, in that formation, it just looks like a number 10, doesn't he? How many times have we been talking about a number 10 to support that lone striker, you know, for two seasons now? And we don't have MD who really can be that number 10. Bajrami, we thought we can maybe be the man that's been in there, and, you know, he's just not really settled at Ibrox at all. Asgard, he is a Norwegian international, as Ryan's already alluded to. So there's obviously a player there. I'm not too sure as yet whether he's got the bite, he's a big, tall, strapping lad, but I've never seen him put a tackle in. You know, I don't really know whether his work rate is good enough to be a kind of central midfielder. So number 10 for me may well be the perfect position for him at Ibrox. But that's if you're going to play the kind of 4-3-3. Which Ryan's team could turn into there quite easily. But again, for me, the good thing about us going forward and taking the kind of pressure to Celtic now, which we've got to with the personnel we've now got. I mean, we've brought in, 13 players now, haven't we? I've mentioned a couple that I don't really rate anyway, but we've still got the previous squad that's still with us, and at least another 8 to 9 players that's been brought in. Once they start knitting into a cohesive unit, a system which they settle down to so everybody knows their jobs, then we should should see victories rather than these draws that we're getting at the moment. But yeah, I mean, we're going to go with three in the middle of the park. Nothing wrong with their personnel whatsoever, as long as they're intelligent enough to intertwine and just look after the ball, depending on the state of play at the game at a particular time, it's offensively or defensively. They need to be intelligent enough to sort of cover the areas where we're trying to win the ball back, and Vicky Verka, when we're on the attack, they need to be intelligent enough to get into spaces to receive the ball and keep the momentum of that ball going in the right direction, which at the moment sometimes it's just far too tippy-tappy back to and we're just losing the momentum, and it's allowing the opposition just to reset, and then we're back to square one. This is why, for me, the two boys that Ryan's going to obviously come up to now are pivotal to our success. Not so much those two, but the wingers, which, for me, it's key. It's absolutely key. We've got to get pace in the team down the wings and get a service into the strikers, whoever that may be.
Spoiler alert for my team. I don't have Rothwell in there either. Neither did Ricky. And Ryan, you don't have Rothwell playing. I wonder if his time is already up.
He's not cutting the mustard, is he? Let's be honest. Yeah. He's not the player we thought we were signing. There's a lot of questions over his fitness. There's a lot of questions over actually what is he doing to affect games. What is the positive influence that he is having on a week-to-week basis? When you're seeing guys coming out the cold at Barron and having potentially man of the match performances in Old Firm games, then you've got to wonder where his place is in the pecking order. Raskin's going to come back into the fold now as well, hopefully. So where is his future? Where is his potential to actually get into the team? He is one that has really got to pull his socks up, because at this moment in time he's very far down. There's not a lot of credit in the bank with the Rangers fans for him.
Right, talk us through your front three then.
Yeah, well, this is basically all about just being fluid and just kind of having a go. Gassama's, I've got really high hopes for him. I think he's really hit the ground running. He scored a lot of one or two really important goals for us already. For me, he's the real deal. He's starting to link up quite well with Makoma as well. So he, for me, is one of the first names on the team sheet. Ant-Man started off with a flyer against Blitzen. He's doing okay. I think he's someone that maybe just needs a little bit more time, and he needs a good striker in the box for him. I think he is very much the assists guy. Gassama's obviously got a bit of a goal threat about him, but Ant-Man is all about assists. When he came across from Go Ahead Eagles, I think he had the highest number of assists in the Eredivisie last year. So he needs somebody in the number 9 position and the number 10 position to actually work for him. But there's potential there. We've seen the penalty he won for us in the Blitzen game. We've seen the cross that he had for Gassama's goal. There's definitely a player in there. So we need to be patient with him. We're sometimes a bit quick in judging players. If you don't have a great first touch, you're rubbish when you play for us. So I think we need to have a wee bit of patience there. But I'm expecting Finlay Curtis to push him quite hard as well this season. I'm hoping Curtis is going to go along and have a really good season this for us there. I'm wanting him to have plenty of minutes as well. Mikey Moore's obviously in consideration there as well, but I don't think he's yet to arrive at Ibrox for me. There's still, something that's just not quite clicking for him there. So we'll wait and see what comes of him. But they're for me too. They're the best options. They're the ones that are going to bring us the best chance of goals.
Ricky, the one thing that pops out to me is that this very much is what we've been playing with so far in these positions, and we have complained on this very pod about the lack of chances being set up. So is there going to be enough chances with Ant-Man and Gassama as the wingers?
Well, as you just rightly said, Billy, there's nothing changes with the system there, is it? That's just the same way that Russell Martin has basically set us up from the offset, So the personnel will get better as each week passes by, and they get to understand each other. But for me, and I've already alluded to it, you've got to have the two strikers on the park. You're not leaving them sitting on the bench. I 100% agree. You need both those wing lads, Ant-Man and Gassama in the team, 100%. And as I've already alluded to, if the guys have run their backsides off for the first sort of 60, 70 minutes and they can't go in, we've got more than enough quality in the bench to come on and replace them. And as I said, like for like, it's all to do with systems. Get into this, we all know exactly what we're doing. But Gassama's proven to be a decent signing. Ant-Man started well, but he's struggling a little bit at the moment. And he played last night for Finland, so he's still an international. But I think we just need to get him into position, let him run and take these. I mean, these two wingers we're talking about here do like to take the people on. It's as if they've been stifled again with Russell Martin's system. Bring the ball back and bring it back. He's like telling them not to do what they bought them for, and that's attack the fullbacks and get service to the striker. And it's as if we've muffed it or trying to muff it out their game. And it doesn't work, So Russell Martin needs to sort of, I'm sure there must be other people around it, but Russell Martin can see it. I mean, we can all see it. He's got to sort of stop being so stubborn and utilise the personnel to their strengths. And these two boys that we're speaking about now are definitely got the talent, but we just need to try and make sure we utilise that and don't stifle their progression.
Ryan, you went for Chimiti up front over Danilo and Majowski. Just what was your thinking on that? Because it's obviously very unknown to us. It's the price tag.
Price tag. That's all it was. Just the price tag. To be honest, I'm delighted with Simon Majowski. I think Majowski's going to be brilliant for us. He's a proven goal scorer in the league. He caused us all sorts of problems. He scored a lot of goals against us. He scored a lot of goals against the other side of the old firm as well. So for me, it was a no-brainer of a signing when he became available. I think he's going to represent really good value for money for us. The guy's a worker. He's a quality player. Chimiti just chucked him in there because he's price tag more than anything else. So it could have been one or the other. It certainly wasn't going to be Danilo. That's for sure.
Right, you get a chance to criticise mine. You obviously covered an awful lot of things on my thinking with a few players, but I'll bring up the team that I went for, and obviously Butland in goal. Ryan, I think the only difference between me and your team at the back line was Cornelius starting, and I just think Ricky mentioned it earlier on as his experience and his quality for me is higher than Souttar, and I feel Souttar has looked uncomfortable, and that is Cornelius's best natural position. So any criticism of my back line?
For me, no. I hope it does become Cornelius. I think he's obvious just for the balance and stuff like that. Purely, I just didn't pick Cornelius because I've not seen him yet, so just went with the tried and tested.
Ricky, what's your thought on Cornelius starting over John Souttar?
Yeah, well, I've already touched it, mate. Balance. We need the left side of the centre half. It's as simple as that. So he's a no-brainer for me. But I've already alluded to Tav at the right back, mate. So it's pointless going on about that again. But straight away, you've got a wee bit of balance between your two centre halves. So one natural left, one natural right, and I think it's key that we get that into the team.
I didn't go. I actually just wanted the one holding midfielders. I have Raskin with Ant-Man and Leo Cameron off them, and just ahead of them. Ryan, how have you felt Cameron started his career at Rangers?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He's obviously had a couple of wee niggly injuries. One at the start and one he was nursing for the last game, but the wee man's been absolutely fantastic. His industry, his work rate. You can see it. He's putting 110% every time he goes out there. He scored the goal against Blitzen, which basically killed the tie for us to get in front of Bruges as well. So, and it was disappointing to see him actually be dropped for the next game, even though he was the guy that actually got us there. But wee man's been fantastic. Really exceeded expectations so far. He's just got to start adding a few more goals into his game and get himself into the box a little bit more. And what a player we've got in our hands.
Ricky, I'll let you criticise the midfield in any other way you want, but particularly I do want the one holding midfielder. What do you think about that as opposed to having your two in there?
Well, it's just exactly the same as Ryan's. It's just all about personnel, isn't it? The system's the same, as long as they sort of intertwine and do the jobs that they need to do. But personally, Cameron is probably the only kind of box-to-box guy that we have that will cover 90 minutes of, he just doesn't stop, does he? So I would have him central, not so much as the number 10, but I'd probably have him in the number 8 position, so to speak. So, but centrally, I think he can affect the game so much just by breaking up play. And he's that one Scotty Arfield player who'll get him beyond, and he'll run and he'll run and he'll run and he'll run and he'll not always get the ball, but he'll run and he'll run and he'll run. And we need to maybe utilise that in that kind of formation. Cameron is a fantastic young lad, full of exuberance, and he's just energy is just there. And this is a word that Russell Martin keeps on going about, the energy. And that's one thing that young Lyle Cameron is going to give his energy. So you get him into the right position, and we will get a lot from him this season, that's for sure.
Ryan, unless you want to say anything more about the midfield, I'll move forward the line. I went with Gassama and Moore, and my thinking with them is just purely on the Old Firm game, we've seen Gassama playing on the right wing. I would like the wingers to interchange and swap over each side, and obviously Mikey Moore's more of a left-sided player, but he also can cut in on that right side. But would you think we'd ever do that, have these two wingers that would swap over during the game?
Aye, why not actually just stick them both? We identified that Ralston was probably one of the weaker links in the Celtic team. Imagine he turned around and Moore and Gassama were both standing next to him. And you always talk about people who used to double up against their wingers. Well, why don't we just double up against their fullback on occasion? Just do it for 5 minutes just to see it and just get the ball out left. And, a wee bit of a power play as you would get in ice hockey, but why not?
Fair enough. Ricky, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think you're on about Billy's. You're just intertwined, so they just swap, don't they? Not all playing. Yeah. I thought that. Yeah. No, but we were always good with that when we had our wingers, mate. You'd swap over and give the fullbacks something else to think about, because then is different options. Is he going to go outside me? Is he going to come inside me? Blah blah blah. When you played against the Cherny last season, as good as he was for us, you knew where he was going to go. You know what I mean? So all you had to do was show him down the line, and you were effectively taking him out the game. You let him come inside and he's going to punish you. Mikey Moore, I agree with Ryan. I think, he's came with a really good reputation. He's just turned 18 years of age, isn't he? He's definitely an asset, because, the people down at Spurs think he's a fantastic player. And we will see, the real sort of a Mikey Moore, I'm sure, very, very soon. But whether he's a starter for me, I'm not too sure. But again, the strength we've got in that bench in those positions now, left and right, and dare I say it, Matondo will be back shortly. Again, somebody with pace. Not that Ryan, I get that, mate, trust me. I'm not a big fan, but what I'm saying is he will provide another option should we need pace. I keep on going about pace. It's key. And we've got about 5 or 6 options now in both wings into whether it be going to the left or whether the right. These boys are talented enough to start on the left or start on the right. So again, it's an area which we're strengthened really well. So we should be utilising it, and we should be a little bit more comfortable getting to that byline, depending on what the manager's tactics are. But yeah, it's looking quite favourable for me, the options that we've got.
Ryan, on the subject of options and players we could bring on, not that I want to give him credit, but what Postecoglou did in his 2 seasons or so with Celtic was basically get the team to run the main players to run the race in 60 minutes, hopefully get the game over the line, and then they can bring on other players, like for like. We're now in a position that we could do that. Yep.
And it's hard to criticise something that works so well for them. You see it being done with great effect. They won a lot of trophies doing it. They won a lot of football games very convincingly doing it. So it's, if you need to replicate that, I've not got a problem with it. I'd rather we were obviously replicating another team, but so be it. Well,
last is my centre forward. I don't think we're going to see certainly in the starting lineup, 2 strikers starting the game, Ricky, but that's just my opinion. We'll see as it goes on. I went for Miovski purely because Miovski's my signing of the summer. I don't know how we got him for that price. I don't know how other teams didn't come in for him. He's proven it in this league. I think you mentioned it earlier, Ryan, that scored enough goals against us and other teams. Gave Connor Goldson nightmares for most of the times he played against them. And you've also said you went for Chimiti, Ryan, just purely, down to the transfer fee. What's your feelings? Who do you think will start most of the games at the moment?
Whoever scores the most goals. Whoever's in form, whoever's getting the most goals, and it's basically it's created kind of real competition for places. Up until the end of the window there, we're only really looking towards Dessers, and thankfully he was a far better professional about the situation. Obviously realised that he was looking to move out and leave and move on, but he still gave his all when he came onto the park, and he didn't refuse to come onto the park. So up until just a couple of weeks ago, we were playing without a striker, and it's abundantly evident when we've got Asgard starting against St Mirren away that we didn't have a striker. So it's great to have competition for places, and these two guys will be right at each other. You know, they'll want to get in the team and they'll want to stay in the team. So Miovski, obviously, he said he came here to win trophies and the opportunity to play in Europe again. Chermiti's going to have his eye on, you know, further career progression and stuff like that. So let's just get them playing against each other and, you know, create competition. I think Morelos and Defoe was probably the last time we actually had two really good strikers who would actually go on and, you know, one's coming off the bench to score a double after one scored a hat-trick. I want to see that happening.
Ricky, and what's your thoughts on Miovski, whether he will start most games or Chermiti will? What do you think?
Out of the two, for me, it would be Miovski because he's been here, he's seen it, he's done it, and he's a proven goal scorer in the SPL. Although people will say he failed, you know, dramatically over in Italy. Well, I don't really care what happened in Italy. If he can reproduce the form that he had with us when he was at Aberdeen, then we're on a winner. And I agree with you, Ryan. What a fantastic signing, especially for, was it £3.5 million or 3.4? That's a fantastic signing. And there's still room for profit in that lad as well. What was he, 26, 27? So, I mean, he could get one big final payday in a couple of years' time if he starts banging the goals in for us, especially, you know, if we're competing well in Europe. So, you know, he's a fantastic signing. You know, there isn't any real negatives at all for me. But I'll go back to the fact that we ain't leaving both those boys on the bench. If it means you have to play one as a 10, then maybe that's how they'll do it. So one of those boys will be part of the three midfield, sitting as a number 10. I cannot see how Russell Martin is not going to play both of those guys in the same team. That's my opinion. He'll work it somehow. Whether it's right or whether it's wrong, I think you get energy from Miovski to be that 10. I can't speak about Chermiti because we don't know what he's done. He could be the guy who could be the 10, but if he's a kind of striker, apparently he's a big tall lad, he's good at holding the play up. And if he can do that and allow Miovski, if he was the 10, to get in round about him, Bob's your uncle, you're on a winner. But you have to play the both of them, in my opinion.
Ricky, before the pod started, we were talking about the backstage, but you said, we'll not go for an hour tonight. Well, we're nearly at an hour tonight, 52 minutes. And it never ceases to amaze me how we can talk rubbish for an hour, and the time just goes by so quick. But Ryan, there's one more slide to go, and I think it was something you and Doug were talking about in the chat earlier on, and it was comparing last year's team to this year's. So I'll bring it up. Can you talk through what you were talking about?
It was more kind of, I was more looking towards depth and stuff like that. I mean, you can see straight away left back straight away. McComas a superior player. Jeffy's working the final third, left a lot to be desired. He's working a lot, you know, defensively. A lot of really kind of hilarious error, you know, not hilarious is the worst way, but you know, really bad errors. They are proper one in, one out. He was really, really poor. Czerny, I think, could have been a better player, you know, for us. I think he really needed somebody that would come in and work on the kind of right-hand side there. I think if he had an overlapping fullback, Ricky mentioned the fact that you shoved him down the right hand on his right-hand side, he would really struggle. But an overlapping fullback for him would have done that. A younger version of Tav would have certainly have helped. Egeman playing out left, wasted, to be honest, as well. So there's a better balance. I just feel there's a kind of better balance within the team this year. I'm hoping there's not as many mistakes in the defence, but obviously that remains to be seen because some of it's been a bit car crash TV so far. This is what I was kind of talking about with Doug earlier on. This is kind of squad depth.
Thank you, Doug. Doug's joined in the pod to add this one on for us. So there you go.
This was kind of more squad depth that I wanted to get to. That there's competition for places, especially in the kind of 4-2-3-1 model. The left back, I've noticed he's only kind of mentioned McComan there. Cornelius is potential left back. Sterling's potentially left back cover. Aarons has played there earlier on in the season for us. I think it's, you know, there's cover there at left back, although maybe it's cover, you know, it's quantity rather than quality. But I think that's, as far as a squad is concerned, I'm a lot happier with it than I was last season. The proof will be in the pudding at the end of the season when we see how many bits of silverware in the cabinet. But, you know, from this time last year, I'm a lot happier.
Ricky, I do agree with Ryan, and there was a comment earlier on in the pod in the comments saying McLeish would win the league with this team, which I thought that's probably quite true. So I do think you can give us an opinion whether you think the squad's better this season. My issue is that currently it's the manager that's is hampering us.
Well, yeah, there's no doubt. I'm happy with the recruitment overall. One or two players have still got to prove their worth, but overall I'm happy with the recruitment. But when you compare the team from last year to this year, it's the same formation, and we're getting the same old arguments and failings of not getting the ball in the back of the net because we're not getting service to the striker. Something needs to change there for me. But when it comes to personnel, God, we're so much stronger than what we were. So the current board, rightly or wrongly, I brought in Russell Martin because they believe he's the man for the job. They've certainly backed him, whether it's Russell Martin's signings, they've certainly backed him. And I just feel that if we can get, and again, I'm sorry if I'm getting over this, if we can just get a system in play, whatever that system is going to be, whatever it's going to be, get the personnel used to it because they've got more than enough cover to go hell for leather from the word go. 5 substitutions nowadays. Years ago, it was only 3. There's no reason why we cannot be going hell for leather for 90 minutes and winning games now. There's no excuse anymore. The personnel's there. And we've got more than enough in depth of the personnel to cover each other when we're goosed.
Ryan, the Old Firm draw, I guess, bought Russell Martin a bit more time. At least we're not going into a toxic international break where there's just 2 weeks of us screaming for his head. But if the results don't improve and improve from the very first game, this feeling about Martin hasn't gone away with for the fans, has it?
Not really. I think I mentioned in the last pod I was on, there was a poll that I clocked in Rangers on Tour on Facebook, and it was basically put an angry face if you would like him to stay and put a thumb if you would like him to leave. And there was 10,000 odd thumbs for him to leave and only about 51 angry faces for him to stay. So the vast majority of the fans, if there was anybody that was happy that he got appointed, obviously there was a lot of people that didn't want him appointed in the first place. I think it's very kind of, there's not a lot of time here, and you might have Andrew Kavanagh get into the dressing room and say, this is you need to get on board with this because he's here to stay. It has to change, has it? We're probably at a situation just now where everything is okay. Not qualifying for the Champions League is okay. It's fine, but at least we're in Europa League. Not losing a game so far this season is okay. We didn't lose the Old Firm game. They're not a million miles ahead of us. We can catch them, no problem at all. But it needs to turn now. We need to beat Hearts. We need to have a right good game. We need to put a marker down by beating Hibs and getting ourselves over to Hampden for a semi-final as well. This needs to start changing. It needs to start changing quickly. There's no more excuses. He's been given a lot of money to spend. He's been given the opportunity to get players out that he didn't want there anymore as well. So he's been backed. It's on him now.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, guys. Well, this is up to nearly an hour, Ricky, so you weren't quite right this evening. But Ricky, thank you very much for coming on.
No, thanks, Billy. Thanks, Ryan. I thoroughly enjoyed it on a Monday night slot. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks very much. It was quite an interesting sort of a take, and I think we all want the same thing, and there's no doubt about that. But I think we can probably agree we just need a system that's in place that we stick to. And if we can get that system with a plan A, plan B, plan C can come out of the system, then we're going to win that league.
Good stuff. And Ryan, also, mate, thank you very much for coming on, and thank you for your team as well.
No problem at all. Looking forward to Saturday, a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. We should take this and embrace it with both hands because we won't have a lot of Saturday games coming up, and definitely not at 3 o'clock.
No, you're right. Well, everyone, thank you very much for your comments. Thank you for watching as well. I should have mentioned several times throughout the pod to go over to our YouTube page and like and subscribe and watch us over there. They actually pay us for you're watching them, and that helps us out. It helps us keep the pod going. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, we are on every night this week with other pods on different subjects, all building up to the game on Saturday. Also, the podcast goes out on all your usual podcast apps as well. So please go to Apple or Spotify or Amazon and whatever you use to listen to the pod as well. So it just leaves me to say thank you for watching, everyone. And remember, every night is a Rangers Journal night. Good night.